Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Welcome to you. We love our children. We want the best for our children. We want our children to fully develop into their best selves for themselves as well as for society. And parents try very hard. Many parents try very hard, and some parents do well, some parents don't do so well. And I am very thrilled at the concept of coaching for children, life coaching for children. I've often said and thought that if I had been coached in my earlier years, how differently my life might have turned out. I am so thrilled when I came across Renaye Thornborrow's curriculum on life coaching for children. And welcome, Renaye.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Duffy. I'm thrilled to be able to help spread the word about the impact that life coaching is having on our children.
Yes, and your curriculum is called Adventures in Wisdom, Life Coaching for Children, the curriculum itself. 22 modules, you said?
We actually teach 27 different mindset skills, supporting children, particularly the ages of 6 through 12, in developing mindset skills for confidence, resilience, self-esteem, self-leadership, learning to set and achieve their goals so they can be who they were meant to be in the world.
Who they were meant to be in the world. And I love that term, Renaye, mindset skills, how to think about things. And before we go into some of the specifics, I've been thinking a lot about, what is the difference between a coach and a parent? And because when I looked at what you teach children, I think it's what the ideal parent could teach their children, should, to put a value on that, teach their children. So even if you have the best parent, you can still use the life coaching skills, of course, taught in a very, very specific way.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what our coaches work and the skills that we help kids develop, actually most grownups aren't even aware of unless they are a student and lover of personal development work, because it gets deep into mindset. And what our coaches do is we are part of a parent's team and a child's team and supporting that child in being mentally healthy, well, achieving their goals, being, like I said, who they're supposed to be in the world. Yes.
So most grown-ups are not aware of the particular skill set put in the ways that you put them, especially resilience, self-esteem, that sort of thing. Their parents are supposed to be teachers, but they're not formal teachers in that way. And then school is supposed to formally teach children, and sometimes the things that they teach them are not necessarily as relevant and important as what a coach, given looking at these mindset skills, could teach.
Yes, well, and you touched on a lot of really important things there, and kind of go backwards a little bit. With our educators, we've had a lot of educators become wisdom coaches in order to bring these skills to children. I mean, they want to help develop the whole child. It's in their, they know it's more than academic success. But Dr. Duffy, the way our system is structured, especially in the United States, there's so much emphasis on the academic side, on the test scores, even on attendance, because that's how funding happens for a lot of our schools. And they just don't have time in the classroom to be able to work on the social emotional learning and supporting children in developing their growth mindset. And that's why a lot of our educators are joining us. We've had school counselors becoming wisdom coaches as well in order to bring these types of skills to children. But absolutely, parents can be their child's coach too. That's how I got started with this whole thing. I discovered the world of personal development right out of college. And I remember thinking to myself, why didn't I learn this when I was a kid? It made no sense to me that the life coaching world, personal development world focuses on grownups when those core thoughts and beliefs that shape who we are and even what we think is possible for our lives are formed when we're really young. So just like you, it's like, boy, I wish I'd had a coach, because who knows what could have happened. So many limiting beliefs get formed early in our lives, and we can learn how to shift those limiting beliefs, and more importantly, proactively create supporting beliefs that help us achieve our goals and be who we were meant to be in the world. That enables us to really live from an empowered point of view. And they're absolutely skills that we can teach kids. And that was my whole motivation when I became a mom, was to bring this type of information and learning and skill development to my own kids. But this was like 20 years ago, and there was nothing out there. There's things, Dr. Duffy, on how to get my kids to behave, but nothing on mindset development, really teaching them how to use the power of their thoughts and mind to create confidence and self-esteem and resilience. And quite frankly, these are skills that a lot of grown-ups still struggle with: their own confidence, their own self-esteem, even resilience.
Yes, and I teach coaching and counseling for outstanding job performance to managers, and all the things that we look at are the wonderful things that you can learn from a coach, and the whole relationship between the coach and the coachee. Mm-hmm. It's so wonderful. And I know many parents aspire to teaching their children about life wisdom and life lessons, telling stories. Yeah. But a lot of it, is misguided. And I love your point about the academic aspect of school, with the emphasis on the grades. And so there is this huge gap that you are filling in, Renaye Thornborrow. Yeah. And it is so exciting to me. Really, I just teaching coaching, being a coach, being a counselor, being a therapist. So can you let people know how to access this, and if they're not officially involved in accessing a curriculum like this, what they can learn, to how they can treat their children and other people, of course?
Oh, absolutely. So one thing we'd love to invite everyone to do is go to our website and download one of our free coaching stories. It teaches the skill of positive self-talk, which is one of the most powerful mindset skills that all children and grown-ups can learn. It's a great thing to do together as a family, with the children in your life. If you're a grandparent, you can do it via Zoom or in person. And it just really is a great way to connect and bond and help develop a skill. Download that skill book today. You could be having story time tonight and developing that skill. So that's number one. And then number two, we do have a YouTube channel where we have different tips and ideas and share information as well. And then if someone is inspired and would like for someone to work with their child, have one of our coaches work with their child, we have a tab on our website that says for parents, and there they can connect with the coach. They can fill out a form, say this is situation, this is the type of thing that we're looking for coaching around. And then for coaches who have availability and feel like there would be a good match, they would reach out directly to that parent and see if there's a match there.
So basically, a parent would hire a coach to give private lessons to their child.
Our coaches offer services in different ways. It can be private one-on-one. It can be through small groups. Some do workshops as well. So our coaches have a lot of flexibility in how they're delivering our work.
So you can distribute your work through parents directly, and or through schools, the teachers, the guidance counselors, all of that. That's basically your outreach.
Yeah, our main focus is we have a coach certification program for people who want to become life coaches for kids. And people who become life coaches tend to be educators, life coaches for adults who want to reach children at your early age, counselors, therapists, social workers, people who already work with children in some capacity, whether it's in extracurricular or it could be art, music, sports, volunteering. We have a lot of volunteers, clergy, medical professions. A lot of times we'll have them join us as well. And even parents who want to bring this type of work to their own children and to their community as well.
So when you say volunteers, does that mean that a parent might be able to afford, if they weren't particularly affluent, but they might be able to afford coaching for their child or children?
Yeah. So what they would do if they wanted to work with one of our coaches is they would just put that in the form, and they would say, hey, I need a scholarship. And if there's a coach who can accommodate that, then they would directly connect that way. Yeah.
Wow,
And
scholarly.
some of our coaches will deliver services like in after school programs, boys and girls clubs. So we certify our coaches, then our coaches have their own businesses and they service their clients in a variety of different ways. Most have private coaching clients, and like I said, it could be in small group or one-on-one, but others also provide services to the community. Some do things in a volunteer setting. Most of them are for fee because this is the way they make their living. But there's a variety of different things that our coaches do.
It's so exciting. Renaye Thornborrow, Adventures in Wisdom Life Coaching for Kids curriculum. So how would people access you?
Yeah, so just visit our website, adventuresinwisdom.com. Check out a free story. If they want to actually talk to us directly, support@adventuresinwisdom.com is the email address. And we've got that up on our website as well. It's the best way.
So adventuresinwisdom.com.
That's correct.
Direct way to reach you.
That's
and
correct.
Your YouTube channel, what is that called?
You'd have to search adventuresinwisdom.com. I don't have it on the top of my head.
Okay.
I mean, we have the links on our website. I mean, it's always my cheat sheet,
Right,
Yes.
of course.
I have a team member that does that for me.
Oh, that's fine. So adventuresinwisdom.com to start the whole process
Exactly,
of
yes.
acquainting with your curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
So Renaye, how would you describe what a coach does in general?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to address.
Or a manager. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I'd like to address real quick, because we're talking about, counseling and we've got coaching, and parents, a lot of times when they see their child struggle or they know their child needs support, they think, oh, I need to find a counselor for my child. And most aren't even aware that life coaching for kids is a thing. And there's a big gap, not only in children's education, as you mentioned a minute ago, but also in children's mental health. And if we look at mental health on a continuum, we have mental wellness on one side and mental illness on the other side. Well, counselors and therapists tend to work on the mental illness side, diagnosing and treating and really supporting children who are struggling a little bit more, getting back to a more normal stage of life. Life coaching for kids works on the prevention side. So really focusing on that mental wellness and being proactive in the mindset skills development for the confidence, for the self-esteem, for resilience and coping skills, for learning how to express gratitude and setting achieving goals. Research shows that both of those practices support people in living in a happier, more fulfilled life. And it works for our kids too. So that's number one, is kind of understanding where we fit in, as we fit in really more on that type of skills development. So the way our coaches work with children, and what makes us so unique, is that our coaches use coaching stories and what we call a story coaching process in helping children develop these skills. So they share a story with children first to help lay a foundation of knowledge. And here's another distinction. You say that you coach adults. Coaching children is very different from coaching adults. Anyone who's listening, if you've done life coaching training or you coach adults, you know that questions is that's one of our most effective tools that we use in working with adults, because we want the answers inside of them and we want our life experiences to help us see the answer. Well, for children, their brains are different. Their brains haven't been fully developed. The frontal lobes, where critical reasoning skills are not fully developed. So using questions only frustrates children because they don't have the foundation of knowledge that helps them apply that to their lives. So that's why we use stories. It really helps them see how these mindset skills work in situations they might face, whether it's at school, at home, with friends, extracurricular, whatever the situation might be. And then once there's this knowledge base that's been laid through the coaching story, we ask child-friendly discussion questions. We do multi-sensory activities. A lot of them are art projects. We share what's called a wisdom for home take-home sheet with the parent, so we can continue the conversation at home. And of course, we check in as well. So it is a process.
Wow, that is a very, very important distinction to make, because that's what I teach to adults who want to coach others. Questions to help the person reflect. And okay, so yes, storytelling is how wisdom has been passed down through the ages.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's in the Bible. All these religious books are all about stories as a way to impart values. So, and at some point there must be questions involved. You said,
absolutely, because we have the child-friendly discussion questions, not only to help them relate to what's going on in the story, but then to apply it to their own lives, because this is coaching, right? We're here to help support transformation in children's lives. So just an example, one of our coaches was working with a young child. She was actually 5.5, which is a little younger than what we usually are targeting. But the little girl was scared to death to go collect her diploma at preschool graduation, and she was about to go into kindergarten. And the mom was really concerned about this girl's confidence in going into school because she was expressing a lot of fear about this. So we worked on this with her, go through the story. How does your brain work? We work with brain science and teach kids the brain science behind confidence, behind self-esteem, behind achievement and goal setting, so they understand why these skills work for them. But, she worked with a little girl, and first day of kindergarten went great. There's a little tear, but, she went in, she was making new friends. It wasn't a problem at all. And it turned out this little girl was also starting some new swim lessons, and she wouldn't participate because she was scared. It was a new teacher, new environment, very loud and noisy, didn't know the other kids. So she wouldn't participate. And again, our coach worked with this little girl on helping her understand why she was afraid, what was going on in her brain, how to prepare for this so that she could build, neural pathways in her brain for what she was going to experience, and how to build up her confidence. And the next day she got in the water, and it was amazing. Total. That's what we're really looking for here, is not just to teach children a concept about self-talk. We want them to live positive self-talk on a day-to-day basis. We want them to understand you're going to feel fear anytime you do something new, because your brain doesn't have those neural pathways to understand that experience. And that's okay. And that's normal. And this is what you get to do. These are the steps you get to take to move through this fear and build your confidence.
Wow, that reminds me of the way they coach athletes, star athletes, where they think something through first, and
Yes.
that is supposedly and as effective as actually doing it.
Oh, yes. They've been studies. Yeah, they've been studies where they put sensors all over the body and even in the brain. Now, Dr. Duff, we've learned so much about the brain science behind why personal development, self-growth type concept work within just the last 20 years because of what we can see in the brain. Self-development, personal growth work, this has been around for literally centuries. And if you go in, I think almost everybody's probably read like Think and Grow Rich. That's one of the classics, right? And they would teach these concepts, but we weren't sure why they worked. But now we can see the brain science behind it. So what you were mentioning, the visualization, they've put sensors on athletes' bodies and in their mind, and they can watch what muscles are firing, what brain patterns are firing when they're actually going through their athletic event. And then they can compare that to what happens when they're actively visualizing their event. And the same areas of the brain are firing, the same areas and regions of the muscles are being stimulated as well. It's extremely powerful.
That is really wonderful, Renaye Thornborrow. How did you come about developing that differentiation of coaching for children as opposed to adults?
Well, when I created this curriculum for my own kids. And first it was just the stories. And at the time, I was vice president of marketing for a company here in Austin. I loved my career, loved what I did, but all of a sudden I started developing this vision to bring coaching to all children. And it just wouldn't go away. So I retired from my corporate job. I took a year off and filled out the curriculum, wrote the rest of the curriculum, and launched my company. This was about 12 years ago. And when I put this all together just based on the knowledge that I had developed over 25 years of huge personal development, transformation work that I was using in my own life and that I wanted to bring to my own kids, like I mentioned. And then what happened was I realized that, when I first released my launched my company, I was really going for, looking to reach parents. But then I had life coaches and counselors and therapists and even educators coming to me wanting to use my work in their own businesses. And I thought, that's a great idea, because I knew they could reach children I would never be able to reach. And so I created the certification program back in 2013. So for a decade now, we've been training coaches. We have coaches in over 30 countries who are using our work with kids. And what happened it's like, okay, life coaches were they were really drawn to our work. And I'm like, I guess I better learn something about the life coaching industry. And so I joined ICF, and I joined an organization called ACTO, it's the Association of Coach Training Organizations. So those are people who own coach training schools. And so I started learning about it. And so I was learning about their coaching philosophy. And within the ICF world, as I mentioned, when it comes to the coaching process, it's all about questions and self-discovery. And I'm like, well, this doesn't work for kids. And, over the years too, I've learned about child development and brain development and all that. And so it was just really continuing education, continuing knowledge, and realizing, okay, wait a minute, because of brain development, coaching kids is different from coaching adults. You don't throw everything away that you learn with coaching for adults, but you have to add to when you're working with children and realize that their come from is going to be very different because they don't have those critical reasoning skills, nor do they have the great, the deep life experiences that adults have as well. So it's been an evolution, a continuous learning. I'm learning all the time. I mean, there's so many people who, a lot of my coaches know a whole lot more than I do. So about different areas of working with kids. So I learn from them. I learn from my ICF world. I learn from personal development transformation world. I mean, it's a continuous process.
I just find this so exciting, Renaye. I can't tell you. The idea is so eye-opening, mind-expanding to begin with. Yeah. And it is so needed. It is so necessary to have children really be able to start thinking for themselves and feel good about themselves, know what they value. Yes. In the executive field for coaching, there's a curriculum called Values in Action.
Yeah.
So what are my values, and do I literally act on my values or do I not? Mm-hmm. Because that is the sign of a true leader.
It absolutely is. Yes. And we start with, as part of our self-leadership part of the curriculum, we really work with children on developing self-responsibility, understanding and living in integrity, treating people with respect and self-respect, very core values there. And then we teach them a process for making good decisions because we aren't taught that as kids. And a lot of times parents will say, well, do this, don't do that. Or they may hear that in school. But it's really important for children to learn how to think through and make good decisions so that they're the ones who is owning that decision, and to make those decisions before they're in a peer pressure situation. So they need to decide what they want for themselves before the cigarettes being handed to them or the pills being handed to them, or, hey, let's skip school today is being suggested to them.
So can you give us an example of a story?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah. Yes. I was going to share about self-talk, but you know what? We give that one away for free. So why don't y'all go get that one for free?
And the good news to everyone is that you're coming back next week. So everyone, please come back next week with us. Okay. A story, Renaye. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So do you want me to go ahead and share an example?
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Let me, since let's talk about, self-talk is all about, self-love, but a part of that too is respect. And one of the stories that we teach is about, how is it that you develop the skill of respect, right? Because kids here, you got to be respectful, but why? What's that all about? And so one of the things we teach children is that every time you're with someone, you leave a mark, either a gold heart or a grungy mark, depending on how you treat them. And by the way, we do it to ourselves too. That's all about the self-respect side of it. So one of the activities that we have is about teaching children to practice giving gold hearts. And we actually had a situation where one of our coaches was working with a little girl named Julie. And so she was struggling a little bit with respect. So her assignment was to practice giving gold hearts. Well, she shared this activity with her family. So the whole family started the practice of giving gold hearts. And it really was a powerful, transformational experience for the whole family. And now it's become part of their family culture, is to practice giving gold hearts. But we have a whole story, written in a fable format that teaches that whole skill set.
I love it. I just love it, Renaye, because when you look at the field of transactional analysis and you look at the warm fuzzies, the cold pricklies, this is along those lines conceptually,
yes. Yep.
But leave a mark. So you're going for something tangible. And the idea of the gold, of course, equivalent to the warm fuzzy, the grungy heart, the cold prickly, but leave a mark. It's very palpable. It's very, what other word? I can't remember, tangible.
And yeah. And then the coaching question we ask, or even that parents can ask is, what kind of mark did you leave today? And it's even a question that we can ask ourselves. What kind of mark did I leave today?
My goodness, it's wonderful because I'm trained as a Gestalt therapist, one of my certifications, and we believe in whatever group we're in, one-to-one or a larger group, to be a positive influence in that environment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's being in the world. And self-esteem, my favorite definition of self-esteem is making a positive difference, the belief that I make a positive difference.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's so important too, Dr. Duffy, it's respect and making a positive difference. It's not just with other people, it's with ourselves too. Because that's one thing that's one of the reasons why we give away that skill on the positive self-talk, because how we speak to ourselves through our thoughts and our words create our entire world, from our self-esteem to our confidence to what we believe is possible to ourselves and what we achieve to our happiness. And I'm in total agreement with you that it's so important for us to focus on making that positive difference and knowing that we can do that, and to make sure we're doing it every time we look in the mirror as well.
Making a positive difference, and adventuresinwisdom.com you can get, because when I was reading up on all that, I did read some of your sample stories and a lot of the information that you're telling me now, which is absolutely wonderful. So we have just a couple of minutes, Renaye. What would you like to leave people with now? And we're going to talk to them again next week.
Yeah. It as parents and people with children in our lives, it doesn't matter how much we love our kids. We can't give them self-esteem. We can't give them confidence. We can't even give them success in life. But what we can do is help them to develop it in themselves. And mindset skills development, it is a skill. It's something we can help kids develop. So if you're feeling inspired, either work with a coach, get our story, work with the children in your lives, be in action, because children get to really see the magnificence of themselves and reach their fullest potential.
And one thing quickly to add is that what makes this even more powerful is that there's no stigma attached, right?
You're right. Yes.
These are the sick kids. These are the mentally ill kids. This is active life coaching for everybody, for every kid.
Yeah.
So because I can just imagine the difference, as opposed to I need help because I'm inferior in some way. So
Absolutely.
That everyone can get on the bandwagon, and it's everything from the get-go is very positive.
Yeah. And Dr. Duffy, some of our coaches work with a child who is also working with a counselor. They're part of that child's team and supporting them and getting back to a state of mental wellness. But you're right. There's not that stigma, which is so great. If you think about it, we have sports coaches for our kids, art teachers, tutors. Why not mindset coaches, which helps children across all these areas of development? I mean, it's just such a missing link in our children's upbringing.
And it does sound affordable and accessible to most. I'm so excited, Renaye Thornborrow, and for you to come back next week. Thank you very much. And this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.